Cops beat up her teen son. Black woman fights back and destroys the department. The scream that tore through the alley behind Franklin High wasn't the kind you could ignore. It was raw, ragged, and cut straight through the mid-afternoon silence like a blade. Jaden Mitchell's body hit the concrete with a thud, too loud to be mistaken for anything but brutality. Blood bloomed beneath his curls, thick and glistening in the Georgia sun, staining the sidewalk, his white t-shirt, and the tips of his brand-new sneakers. "Stop! You're hurting him!" a girl cried, her voice rising above the gasps and chaos. Two officers stood over him, panting, batons still slick with his blood. He hadn't fought back. He couldn't. Jaden was 15. Somewhere in the chaos, someone's phone dropped, clattering against the curb before being snatched up and aimed straight at the scene. "Record everything," a boy yelled. "They're killing him." Officer Derek Slater turned for a second, saw the phones pointed at him, and froze. His partner, Officer Ron Mathis, hesitated too. The crowd had grown, their expressions changing from fear to fury. A teacher pushed through. "Let me through, that's my student." It was Mr. Caldwell, Jaden's music teacher. He knelt beside the boy, trembling. "He's not moving. I need help. He's not responding." Slater cleared his throat. He matched the description. "We thought. He's bleeding from his head, damn it." Across town, Serena Mitchell's phone rang once, then again. She didn't answer the first two calls. She was knee-deep in paperwork in her cramped home office above a real estate agency on Edgewood Avenue. The place wasn't much. Sagging shelves, flickering lights, but it was hers. Quiet, controlled. She liked it that way. The third call came from an unknown number. "Ms. Mitchell," said a rushed voice on the line. "This is Mercy General Hospital. Your son Jaden's been admitted. It's serious. You should come immediately." The pen dropped from her hand. She didn't cry when she saw him in the ICU. She didn't scream. She stood there, staring at her boy hooked up to machines, his face bruised, eyelids swollen shut, IV lines snaking from his arms like lifelines tethering him to the world. The nurse, a kind woman named Elaine, whispered gently, "He suffered blunt force trauma to the head. There's swelling. We've induced a coma to reduce the pressure. I'm so sorry." Serena's voice came out flat. "Was he awake when he got here?" Elaine hesitated, barely, but he said one word before losing consciousness. "What did he say?" "Mom," Serena's knees nearly buckled. She stepped out of the room and found a uniformed officer posted by the door. "You one of them?" she asked. The young white woman shifted uncomfortably. "I'm just here for protection." "That's not what I asked." Serena's voice sharpened. "Were you one of the officers who put your hands on my son?" "No, ma'am," she murmured, "but I saw the footage. Serena turned away before she could finish. Back at home that night, Serena moved like a ghost. Her hands moved automatically, locking doors, turning off lights, removing the duffel bag from the back of her closet. Inside was a worn leather folder, a government-issued badge long since deactivated, and a dog tag that hadn't seen daylight in almost a decade. Captain Serena Knox, it read. Before she was Serena Mitchell, paralegal and single mom, she was a decorated military intelligence officer with clearance most agents dreamed of. Her call sign had been Falcon, and right now the Falcon was done playing civilian. She pulled out her laptop, opened an encrypted channel, and typed, "I need eyes on APD, badge numbers 4157, 4183. I need everything." Quietly. The response came faster than expected. Already on it. "Welcome back." She stared at those two words, "welcome back." But she had never really left. The next morning, Serena walked into the Atlanta Police Department's Central Precinct unannounced. The security desk officer blinked at her. "Ma'am, you can't be back here." "Call your captain," she said coldly. "Tell him Serena Knox is here. He'll know the name." "Knox," the man muttered, confused. "I thought your name was—" "Just call 5 minutes later, Captain Willard Brooks appeared, red in the face and trying hard to maintain a diplomatic smile. "Serena, been a long time." "You should have kept it that way," she replied. "If this is about Jaden." "Two of your officers put my son in a coma," she said sharply. "This isn't about Jaden. This is about you, your people, and what you've let happen under your command." "Serena, there's an investigation. You've got 48 hours. I want body cam footage, incident reports, complaints against officers Slater and Mathis. Everything. Or I go federal. You think you can threaten me?" She leaned in. "I'm not threatening you, Will. I'm reminding you of what I'm capable of." He opened his mouth to argue, but she was already walking away. That night, back at her apartment, her living room turned into a war room. Across the screen, name searches, internal review leaks, dash cam logs, incident histories. Her old contact, Maya Lin, a cybersecurity contractor now working out of Seattle, sent over a flash drive by encrypted courier. "These files aren't public," Maya said via voice chat. "You sure you want to open this door again?" Serena's eyes were steel. "They kicked it open when they touched my kid." Inside the files were red flags. Slater had been suspended twice, both sealed. Mathis had a brutality complaint dismissed 6 months ago. Victim was a black teen with autism. Internal Affairs had buried at least 5 use-of-force reviews. Serena's stomach twisted. She clicked open the folder marked Interrupted Transcripts. And there it was, an audio file. From a body cam someone thought was turned off. Slater's voice was unmistakable. "Little punk thinks he's smart. Knock him out, Ron." Then a grunt, a thud, a groan that could only be Jaden. Serena dropped her face into her hands, not because she couldn't handle the pain, but because she was just getting started. And when a woman like Serena Knox gets started, she doesn't stop. Not until the walls come down. The first thing Serena did the next morning wasn't check her phone or make coffee. She stood in front of the bathroom mirror, staring into the reflection of a woman she hadn't seen in almost 10 years. Her jaw was clenched, her posture straight. Her eyes, no longer the tired, overworked gaze of a paralegal trying to make ends meet, but sharp, focused. She reached into the back of her closet and pulled out the box she'd once sworn she'd never open again. Inside, her military insignia, 3 commendations, an encrypted USB drive, and a faded photo of her in uniform, standing beside 2 men. The man on the right was Marcus Vale, former Navy SEAL, now working freelance intelligence extraction in D.C. The other was Elijah Cortez, an ex-FBI profiler who owed Serena more than just his pension. She pulled out her phone and texted them both. "I need eyes, and I need backup." Marcus replied instantly. "Whatever you need, I'm in." An hour later, Serena stood on the rooftop of a parking deck across from the Atlanta police precinct. The city buzzed beneath her, horns blaring, heels clicking, street vendors yelling about sausage dogs and sweet tea. It all felt too normal, too calm. Next to her, Marcus handed her a tablet with decrypted data logs scrolling across the screen. "You weren't exaggerating," he said grimly. "These guys have dirt going back years. Slater, Mathis, even the precinct captain. Sealed files, buried complaints. But this is the real prize." He tapped on a highlighted video. It was a security cam angle, slightly grainy but unmistakable. Jaden standing outside the school gate, hands in plain sight. Officer Slater moved in, yelling something. Mathis flanked. Then came the baton. Jaden didn't even flinch. He tried to back up. Then the blow landed. "That was the first hit," Marcus said. "There were 5 more before he hit the ground." Serena didn't speak. She just watched. Her knuckles whitened around the edge of the tablet. "Where'd you get this footage?" "Anonymous dropped to a journalist friend of mine, but it didn't make it to air. The station was threatened, pulled the whole segment before it aired." "Of course they did." Just then, Elijah called in. "I dug into their union connections," he said. Captain Willard Brooks has ties to a local political fixer. They've been shielding officers like Slater for years. Internal reports were never submitted. Whistleblowers pushed out. There's a pattern. You ready to make this ugly? Serena didn't hesitate. I'm ready to make it true. That night, she returned home to find her apartment door slightly ajar. Her body tensed. She stepped in slowly, her hand already reaching for the side table drawer where her old Glock 19 now lived again. But the apartment was empty, or so she thought. A figure stepped out from her kitchen, not threatening. Calm, a woman, late 40s. Cornrows pulled tight, a police badge on her belt, but no aggression in her stance. Serena Knox, the woman said. That's not my name anymore, Serena replied coldly. Well, it's the one on every closed case file I've been told not to open. Name's Detective Nadine Green, Internal Affairs, off the record. Serena lowered the gun but didn't put it away. You're brave coming here. Brave or tired of being part of a system that eats its young. What do you want? To help, quietly, if you want it. Serena narrowed her eyes. Why now? Nadine took a deep breath. My nephew was stopped last year. They said he matched a description. They roughed him up. He's been mute ever since. Therapy doesn't help. They silenced him, but not me. Serena studied her. A long pause. Then we start with Slater's disciplinary record. Full, unredacted. Can you get it? Nadine nodded once. You'll have it tomorrow. The next day, Serena, Marcus, and Elijah sat around her kitchen table, every inch covered in documents, printouts, maps, and photographs. This is bigger than just two rogue cops, Elijah said. It's a system, protected, hidden, and viciously defended. Serena stood, stretching her neck, then reached for a folder labeled Confidential. Inside was a name no one had mentioned yet. Deputy Chief Ellis Harmon, the one man with the authority to override internal reviews, the one man who hadn't appeared in any of the footage. Why is he so clean? Serena asked. Because he knows how to clean up, Marcus said. Then let's make him dirty, she said. Later that evening, Serena uploaded a carefully edited video. It featured clips from Jaden's beating, cut with images of complaint forms, whistleblower memos, and blurred out names. Her voice overlaid the entire video. My name is Serena Mitchell, but I used to be Captain Serena Knox. I fought overseas for this country, and now I'm fighting here for my son, for your sons, for our daughters. If they thought I'd stay quiet, they chose the wrong mother. She didn't sleep that night. She didn't need to. By morning, the video had hit 2 million views. Her inbox overflowed with messages, mothers from every corner of the country. Some shared videos, others shared names. Most just said thank you. But one message stood out. No subject, no greeting. Just a photo attachment. Jaden lying in the hospital bed, circled in red ink. And underneath, back off. Or next time we finish the job. Serena stared at the screen, jaw tight. Then she did the only thing that made sense. She picked up her phone. Marcus, we're going to war. The sun had barely crested over Atlanta when Serena stood outside an unmarked warehouse in a forgotten corner of the city. To anyone else, it was just another graffitied brick box. To Serena, it was an archive. Marcus parked the SUV around the corner, keeping lookout while Serena punched in a code she hadn't used in nearly a decade. The keypad beeped once. Then the heavy metal door clicked. Inside, the air was stale with dust and secrets. Stacks of old tactical gear, black file boxes, and military surplus crates lined the space. She walked straight to the back, past a decommissioned drone and a rusted weapons locker. There, on a steel shelf, sat a hard drive locked in a biometric case. She placed her thumb on the reader. A green light flashed. Inside the case were years' worth of surveillance, open-source scraping tools, and black bag operation software. But what Serena really needed was the file labeled Polaris. She booted up the drive on a secured laptop Marcus had prepped. Within seconds, data filled the screen. Blueprints, officer records, timestamps, reports flagged for deletion. The file for Officer Derek Slater was worse than she thought. 10 civilian complaints, 3 open use of force investigations, 2 settlements paid quietly to families who never spoke to the press, and every single one of them marked handled by a signature she hadn't seen in years. Deputy Chief Ellis Harmon, Serena whispered under her breath. So you're the firewall. She clicked open a subfolder labeled Red Echo. Inside were intercepted messages, coded, but she knew the patterns. Serena's military clearance hadn't expired. She just stopped using it. One message stood out. Mitchell boy, containment required. Media risk escalating. Confirm suppression protocol with Harmon. She sat back. Marcus, she called. He stepped in, coffee in hand, eyebrows raised. They knew this would blow up, she said. They had a plan ready. You saying Jaden was a target? I'm saying he was a spark, and they were ready to douse it before it became fire. Marcus stared at the screen. You're going to need help going public with this. Already got someone in mind. Later that afternoon, Serena sat in a quiet cafe off Edgewood with Maya Lin on a secure line. You sure you want to leak this? Maya asked. They'll trace it. Not if you do it right? I always do it right, but that doesn't mean you won't get hit harder next time. I'll take the hit. There was a pause, then Maya's voice softened. You sound like her again. Who? Falcon. Serena didn't answer. That night, the leak went live, redacted footage, body cam stills, images of complaint forms with blacked-out names and metadata coordinates matching Slater and Mathis's patrols. But Serena knew she couldn't just rely on documents. She needed a face, a voice. She drove to a modest brick home on the east side of the city. The porch light flickered and a kid's bike leaned against the steps. The woman who answered the door was in her early 40s, eyes weary but sharp. Ms. Davina Carter? Depends who's asking. Serena stepped forward. My name's Serena Mitchell. My son was the most recent victim. Davina's lips parted. The boy at Franklin High? Serena nodded. I saw the footage, Davina whispered. That was my boy 5 years ago. He survived, but he's never been the same. I know. I've seen the files, and I know you were silenced with a non-disclosure. Davina glanced behind her. Her teenage son sat on the couch, headphones in, eyes blank. I didn't have a choice, she said. They told me if I went public, I'd lose custody. Said I was an unfit mother for letting him be out late, but he was just walking home. They can't threaten you anymore, Serena said quietly. Not if we all speak together. Davina didn't reply, but the next morning she called. I'm ready to talk, she said. Meanwhile, Captain Willard Brooks paced his office, sweating through his collar. You said she was just a paralegal, he snapped at Harmon over the secure line. She was, until you made it personal, Harmon replied coldly. She's got footage, Will. Real footage. Not doctored, not altered. Someone's leaking from inside. Then we plug the leak. And what if the leak is sitting on a witness list? What if she's talking to internal affairs? Then we discredit her. Fast. That evening, a burner account sent a PDF to several local media outlets. Inside, sealed documents, half-truths about Serena's past in the military, a court case where evidence had gone missing during her time as an operations officer, a whistleblower accusation that was dismissed but not forgotten. The intent was clear. Smear her before she could speak. But Serena had been ready. She beat the story by 10 minutes, posted a statement on her social channels. I've made mistakes. I've held secrets. But what I won't do is stand by while they attack my child and lie about what they've done to others. This isn't about my past. It's about their present, and their future if we don't stop them. The media tried to pivot, but the people already had their minds made up. Serena wasn't the villain, she was the storm, and it was only just beginning. The city didn't sleep that night. By morning, the video Serena released had been watched over 6 million times. Hashtags exploded across every social media platform. Justice for Jayden, #the right mother, #Falcon returns. News anchors scrambled to get her name pronounced correctly. Politicians drafted statements they'd rewrite 5 times before posting. But inside Serena's apartment, there was no celebration, only silence. She sat in the kitchen, arms crossed, watching Marcus sift through folders like he was defusing a bomb. Elijah sat on the floor, surrounded by legal briefs, sipping cold coffee. "We hit a nerve," Marcus muttered. "That's what we wanted," Serena said flatly. "No, Serena, you didn't just hit a nerve. You set the whole damn nervous system on fire." Her eyes flicked up. "You worried?" He shook his head. "I'm impressed and a little terrified." The doorbell rang. Once, then again. Serena stood and moved to the door, peeking through the eye-hole. Detective Nadine Green, alone. She opened the door. "You're not supposed to be here," Serena said. "I won't stay long." Nadine stepped inside, glancing around. "But I have something you need to see." She opened her messenger bag and pulled out a manila envelope, thick and creased. "These are internal memos from the last 6 months, suppressed complaints, reviews that were closed before they even reached a supervisor's desk. All of them have one thing in common." She laid the papers on the table. Marcus leaned over. "Deputy Chief Harmon's initials," he said. "Exactly," Nadine nodded. "But that's not the worst part." She handed Serena a small flash drive. "What's on this?" "Footage that was never supposed to exist." Serena's fingers trembled slightly as she inserted it into her laptop. The screen came alive with blurry hallway footage, time-stamped 2 weeks prior. The camera panned across a line of lockers, then focused on a girl, 16 maybe, being slammed against a wall by a uniformed officer. Slater, again. Serena paused the video, stared at the frozen image, then pressed play. The girl screamed. He laughed. "You think you can run your mouth and not pay for it?" he shouted. The hallway was empty except for one camera that should have been offline. "Where did this come from?" she asked. "Someone inside the department who's tired of watching kids get brutalized and buried." Serena exhaled. "We're not dealing with bad apples," she said. "This is a tree with poison roots." That afternoon, Serena sent the footage to a trusted journalist at WXSB, a woman named Leah Morgan, someone she once helped quietly avoid a Pentagon gag order. "Serena, if I air this, my career is over. You said you wanted to report the truth." Leah didn't speak for a moment, then said softly, "Okay, but if I go down, you're going down with me." "I'm already in freefall," Serena replied. The footage aired during the 6 p.m. news, prime time, no warning, no commercial break, just raw violence on repeat. A young girl. Another victim. Another name for America to learn too late. The public response was nuclear. Parents protested outside Franklin High. Students walked out. Civil rights groups called for immediate suspension of Slater, Mathis, and anyone in their chain of command. And somewhere in the background, the precinct burned, not literally, but under scrutiny so intense, even their press office refused to answer calls. At City Hall, Captain Brooks stared at a monitor, lips pressed into a white line. "You let this happen," Deputy Chief Harmon growled across the conference table. Brooks slammed his fist. "I didn't know she still had that kind of reach. She's not just a mother anymore. She's a threat to all of us." "What do you want me to do? Break into her apartment and delete her internet?" "No," Harmon said. "We discredit her completely. I want her military file leaked. The court case, the one she buried after the Syria op. Find it, spin it." Brooks hesitated. If we do that, we cross a line. Harmon leaned in. Then pray she doesn't push us first. That night, Serena sat in Jaden's hospital room. Machines beeped softly beside her. His face was pale, still, but his hands twitched sometimes like he was dreaming of something he couldn't reach. She leaned in. "I need you to wake up, baby," she whispered. "I need you to see what we're doing, what they're trying to do. I need you to know you weren't just another kid with the wrong skin in the wrong place." A tear slipped down her cheek. She didn't wipe it. Behind her, Marcus entered quietly. "You should rest." "I can't," she said. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "Serena, you've got people now. We'll hold the line." She looked up at him. "I don't want a line. I want it all burned down." At 2:47 a.m., her inbox pinged. Anonymous. No subject. Just a single attachment. Her own military file. Pages redacted. Highlights in yellow. And at the top, the word leverage. Serena's breath caught. They were coming for her. But she wasn't the same woman she was 10 years ago. She wasn't running anymore. This time, they'd have to drag her down, and she'd take the whole rotten machine with her. The knock at Serena's door came just after midnight. Not the polite kind, the kind that meant someone didn't care who was asleep, who was scared, or who was ready. Serena was ready. She slipped silently from her bed, Glock in hand, the barrel low and steady. Marcus, already awake and posted in the guest room, met her in the hallway, shirtless but alert, his own sidearm drawn. "Someone's outside, back alley," he said. "I saw the camera alert. Motion sensor tripped twice. Whoever it is thinks they're clever. They're not." They moved as a unit, clearing corners, no wasted motion. Serena reached the back door, unlocked it slowly, then kicked it open hard. A figure in black stumbled backward. Marcus tackled him before he could regain balance. Grunts, a sharp crack of elbow against jaw, then silence. When Marcus stood up, the man was face down, groaning. Serena flicked the porch light on and gasped. It was Officer Derek Slater. He was bleeding from the mouth, one eye nearly swollen shut. But it was him, and he was holding a USB drive. "Check his pockets," Serena said coldly. Marcus patted him down and pulled out a burner phone, a lock-picking tool, and a folded piece of paper. Serena opened it. It was a printout of her military court record, sealed, redacted, annotated. A big red X drawn across her face in the photo. Slater wheezed, spitting blood. "You think any of this matters? You think people care what a washed-up soldier says? You broke into my home. You're not untouchable." "No," Serena said, kneeling beside him, voice low. "But you just tried to intimidate a federal officer, off-duty or not. And you brought this." She held up the paper. "So now I've got more than footage. I've got motive." Marcus called 911, but not Atlanta PD. He dialed a friend at the U.S. Marshal's office. Slater was cuffed and hauled off before dawn, and within hours that footage was public. The public saw everything, the forced entry, the weapon, the plan to smear her past. But what no one expected was the twist that followed. Because Serena didn't stop at exposing Slater, she released a new video, this time standing outside City Hall with her lawyer, Elijah Cortez. "My name is Serena Mitchell. Last night, Officer Slater, who is currently under investigation for the beating of my son, broke into my home with the intent to intimidate me. But what's more important is what he brought with him. He brought a copy of a sealed file, one that's been used before to silence me. So let me be the one to release it now." Elijah handed her a folder. Serena opened it slowly. "This is my full military file. No redactions, no edits. Yes, I was involved in a failed operation overseas. Yes, I made a call that cost people their careers. And yes, I paid for it. But what I did then, I'd do again. Because I protected civilians from a corrupt chain of command. That's what I'm doing now. And if that ruins my name, so be it. but they don't get to hide behind sealed files and old ghosts anymore. This time, the ghosts fight back. The press went wild. Cable news anchors praised her transparency. Veterans flooded her inbox with support. Even members of Congress shared her video, calling it courageous and long overdue. But inside the Atlanta precinct, chaos was setting in. Captain Brooks stood at the center of the command room, face pale, voice sharp. "We've got officers calling out. One just turned in his badge. Another leaked more body cam footage to the press. We're bleeding from inside." Deputy Chief Harmon didn't blink. "Then cauterize the wound." "You mean fire more people?" "I mean silence them. Find out who's leaking, who's talking to her, and stop it." That afternoon, Detective Nadine Green sent Serena another flash drive. Unmarked. No message, just a note scribbled in pen. "Trust this one, but hide it well." Serena played it. It was footage from inside the hospital. Jaden's first night. The audio was faint, but clear enough. Two officers standing by the ICU, unaware a nurse's badge cam had been active. "You think she's gonna make noise?" one asked. "You kidding? She'll burn the whole city if he dies," the other replied. Then he laughed. "Kid's lucky we didn't finish the war." Serena froze. Her hand trembled over the pause key. She played it again and again. Each time her heart pounded louder. She forwarded the footage to Maya, Marcus, and Elijah. "This goes live tonight," she wrote. At 9:03 p.m., the world watched it happen. Not just Jaden's bruises, not just Serena's courage, but the voice of a man in uniform, joking about nearly killing a child. The city erupted. Protests surged through downtown. High schoolers marched on the Capitol steps. And Serena, she didn't smile, she didn't rest. She stood on her apartment balcony, watching the blue lights flash in the distance, gripping the railing so tight her knuckles ached. Marcus stepped out beside her. "You should be proud." "I'm not here for pride," she said. "Then what are you here for?" She looked out across the city. "For the next mother, so she won't have to do what I did, because next time the system should break. Not her." The courthouse smelled of old paper, polished floors, and nervous sweat. Reporters lined the hallway like wolves in dress shoes, cameras on their shoulders, notebooks open, ready to pounce on every slip of the tongue. But Serena Mitchell didn't flinch. She walked through the front doors wearing a navy blue suit, her hair pulled into a tight braid down her back. No jewelry, no frills, just steel in her spine and fire behind her eyes. Elijah Cortez walked beside her, crisp in a gray suit, gripping a folder thick enough to slam like a hammer. "You sure you're ready for this?" he asked under his breath. "I was born for it," she replied. The courtroom was full, not just packed, but overflowing. Civil rights advocates, students, off-duty officers, mothers who had emailed Serena stories of their own children. In the front row, Detective Nadine Green sat beside Maya Lynn, both with their eyes locked on the defense table. On that side of the room, Captain Willard Brooks, jaw tight, Deputy Chief Harmon, expression unreadable, and Officer Derek Slater, still bruised from the night he broke into Serena's home. Slater wouldn't look at her. "Good." The judge entered, a sharp-eyed woman in her 60s with no patience for nonsense. "All rise for Judge Helena Durant." Everyone stood. Serena's hands stayed steady. The trial began with formality, opening statements, objections. But then Elijah rose. "Your Honor, we intend to demonstrate a clear and deliberate pattern of abuse, obstruction, and retaliation carried out by senior members of the Atlanta Police Department. And we begin with this." He clicked a remote. The screen behind the judge flickered to life. Body cam footage. Jaden standing near the school gate, hands visible. Slater barking commands. No resistance. Then a blow to the head. Another. Screams from the bystanders. Then silence. Gas filled the room. One woman wept. But Elijah wasn't done. We have testimony today from an officer who served under Captain Brooks for 7 years. He's chosen to break his non-disclosure agreement and speak about what really happens inside that department. A door opened in the back, and in walked Officer Reed Daniels. Gray at the temples, broad-shouldered, eyes filled with regret. Serena felt the room shift. He walked to the stand. "I was part of the problem," he said into the microphone. "I saw what we did. I looked away. I wrote the reports they wanted me to write, but after Jaden, I couldn't do it anymore." Elijah stepped forward. "Officer Daniels, did you ever hear Captain Brooks instruct his officers to use excessive force?" "Yes. Not directly, but in code. He used phrases like, 'clean up the streets.' He'd say, 'make them respect the badge.' We all knew what it meant." "And Deputy Chief Harmon?" Daniels hesitated. "That man is the reason none of us spoke up sooner. He threatened careers, families. Anyone who pushed back got reassigned to dead-end units or worse." Elijah nodded. "One last question. Do you have proof?" Daniels reached into a folder and pulled out printed emails. "These are directives from Harmon's office. He approved all officer conduct reviews. These were marked closed, without being read." Elijah took them. "Your Honor, we submit these into evidence." "Admitted," Judge Durant said. The courtroom stirred, but then the defense attorney stood. Evan Carlisle, slick, calculated, the kind of man who knew how to twist sympathy into suspicion. "Ms. Mitchell, may I ask you a few questions?" he said, rising. "Go ahead," she replied calmly. "You served in the military, is that correct?" "Yes." "And were you ever subject to disciplinary action?" "I was." "Would you say that experience may have shaped how you view authority today?" "Absolutely. It taught me that authority without accountability is dangerous." Carlisle smiled. "And would you also agree that releasing classified footage, leaking sealed internal files, and rallying public outrage borders on vigilantism?" Elijah objected. "Withdrawn," Carlisle said quickly. He turned to the jury. "No further questions." Back at the plaintiff's table, Elijah leaned in. "You handled that like a pro." Serena stared straight ahead. "I'm not here to handle, I'm here to break." During the recess, Serena stepped outside the courtroom, needing air. Protesters lined the steps. Some held signs, others lit candles. But one woman approached her slowly, tears running down her cheeks. "My brother was beaten in lockup," she said. "They told us he overdosed, but his body was covered in bruises." No one listened. Serena reached out and took her hand. "They will now." Behind her, a black SUV pulled up to the curb. Inside, Lieutenant Carl Owens, one of Harmon's most trusted fixers, made a call. "She's not backing down," he muttered. "You want me to handle it?" the voice on the line asked. "No," Owens said. "Not yet, but make sure she knows we're watching." That night, when Serena returned home, she found her mailbox forced open. Inside, a single photograph. Jaden, lying in his hospital bed, circled in red ink. On the back, "Back off," or "Next time we finish it." Serena stood there, reading it under the porch light. Her hand shook for a second, but only for a second. Then she walked inside, opened her laptop, and typed 3 words in a group email to Elijah, Marcus, Maya, and Nadine. "We go public." Attachments, sealed documents, audio files, whistleblower testimonies, surveillance photos. She clicked send. Then she picked up the phone and called Leah Morgan from WWXSB. "This is Serena Mitchell. I'm ready for the interview. National broadcast, no edits. I want to talk about everything." The next morning, Atlanta would wake up to a different kind of storm, and this time, no badge would be enough to stop it. The morning Serena's interview aired, the city of Atlanta held its breath. She sat against a simple black backdrop. No flags, no makeup crew, no legal counsel whispering from the sidelines. Just her, a glass of water, and the truth. A Across the country, people tuned in, mothers with coffee cups trembling in hand, veterans who remembered her call sign, high school students who had never known someone could fight back this hard. "My name is Serena Mitchell," she said, her voice clear and unwavering. "But before that, I was Captain Serena Knox. I served 3 tours. I ran black ops across continents. I carried out orders that most people will never even read about. But nothing has ever shaken me more than seeing my son in a coma, beaten by men who were sworn to protect him." She paused, eyes burning into the camera. "And they didn't just hurt him, they tried to erase it. They tried to erase us, but we're still here." She went on to play footage never seen before. Hospital security video showing officers tampering with paperwork. Bodycam audio where Captain Brooks joked about sending a message to troublemakers. Surveillance logs pulled from the precinct's own servers, showing Jaden's name flagged days before the incident. Within hours, the interview went viral. By afternoon, protests swelled. Not just in Atlanta, but in Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, even D.C. At the same time, Marcus handed Serena a slim envelope with a federal seal. She opened it slowly. Inside, a single sheet. "We're coming. DOJ Task Force assigned." "You were right." Her breath caught. "Is this real?" she asked. Marcus smiled. "As real as it's ever going to get." Meanwhile, inside a low-lit warehouse on the city's edge, panic brewed. Captain Brooks paced furiously. Deputy Chief Harmon sat silent, staring at a TV screen as Serena's face appeared again, this time across CNN, MSNBC, even Fox. "This is out of control," Brooks snapped. "She's got the DOJ now. We're not going to survive this." "We will," Harmon said calmly. "How? You saw what she released." "We're going to release something too." Brooks stopped pacing. "You mean the file?" Harmon nodded once. "The full one. Unredacted. The one we buried after Syria. Leak it anonymously. Let the press chew her up for a while." "But that could backfire." "We don't have a choice." They didn't know that Marcus was already listening. He sat 2 blocks away inside a surveillance van, headset on, laptop glowing. He recorded everything. And he wasn't alone. That night, the FBI raided the warehouse. Agents in bulletproof vests stormed the place like it was a cartel compound. Inside, they found shredded documents, black trash bags filled with torched hard drives, and most disturbing of all, folders marked with community leaders' names, addresses, even children's schools. Serena watched the news from her living room couch. Nadine sat beside her, holding her breath as the anchor announced the arrests. Deputy Chief Harmon was taken into custody without incident. Captain Brooks resisted and was dragged out in cuffs, screaming about setups and betrayal. But it wasn't over, not even close. Elijah received a tip that one of the medical staff had been compromised. Serena rushed to the hospital. Her fingers shook as she pushed open Jaden's door. He was asleep, monitors beeping. A new nurse stood at his bedside. "Who are you?" Serena asked. The nurse flinched. I just started today." "Badge," the nurse hesitated. "Too long." Marcus stepped into the room behind her. "Out! Now!" They escorted the woman out and flagged security. Later, Elijah confirmed it. That nurse wasn't on payroll. She had forged credentials. The plan? Administer a low-dose sedative over time, mask Jaden's recovery, create the appearance of brain damage that couldn't be blamed on trauma. It was their final play, and it had failed. Serena stood by her son's bed that night, brushing his curls back from his forehead. "You're still fighting," she whispered. Then something happened. His eyelids fluttered. For a second she thought she imagined it. Then again. And slowly they opened. Brown, glassy eyes stared up at her, confused. "Mom?" she gasped, dropping to her knees beside the bed. "Jaden, Jay, I'm here, baby. I'm right here." Marcus turned away, his throat tight. Nadine covered her mouth, trying not to sob. Jaden tried to sit up, but Serena held him gently. "Don't move, just rest. You're safe." He blinked slowly. "Did you get them?" She smiled through tears. "Not all of them, not yet. But I'm close, and you gave me everything I needed." Outside the hospital, crowds had gathered. Word spread fast. Jaden Mitchell was awake. The boy they tried to silence was back, and his mother was just getting started. The courtroom was packed wall to wall. Reporters stood shoulder to shoulder in the back, pens poised, cameras live. Protesters outside chanted Serena's name. Their voices echoed off the stone walls of the courthouse. Justice for Jaden. Justice for all. Inside, Serena stood tall, her son watching from a wheelchair just behind the plaintiff's table. Jaden still wore a hospital wristband, but his eyes were sharp, present, alive. Judge Helena Durant tapped her gavel once, bringing the room to order. "Ms. Mitchell, do you have anything else to present to the court?" Serena stepped forward, a flash drive in her hand. "Yes, Your Honor. This contains unreleased footage from Franklin High's internal security system. Cameras the precinct claimed weren't operational at the time of the incident." She plugged it into the court's AV system. The screen lit up. There was Jaden, standing calmly, scrolling his phone. Then Slater and Mathis approached. No warning, no commands, just violence. A baton strike to the back of the head. The crowd in the courtroom gasped. One juror covered her mouth. Another leaned forward, eyes wide. Then the audio kicked in. Slater's voice, smug and cruel. "Make sure that camera's off. If she twitches, charge her with resisting." The screen went black. Silence fell like a brick. Judge Durant turned to the defense. "Counselor, do you still wish to argue this was protocol?" The defense attorney swallowed hard. "No, Your Honor." "Good," the judge replied coldly. Later that afternoon, Serena stood on the courthouse steps, cameras in her face, mics inches from her lips. But this time she wasn't alone. Jaden sat beside her, hand on hers. Behind them, Marcus, Elijah, Nadine, Maya, and dozens of families who had come forward stood in quiet unity. "This is not just about my son," Serena began. Her voice was steady but full of heat. "This is about every family who was too scared to speak up. Every parent who buried their child without justice. Every person told to move along, stay quiet, forget." She looked into the cameras like she was staring down the system itself. "I won't forget, I won't move along, and I won't stop." One reporter shouted, "Now that indictments have been filed, what's next?" Serena didn't hesitate. "We rebuild." And rebuild she did. Within 30 days, the Atlanta Police Department was placed under federal supervision. 23 officers were suspended, 10 were fired in, and 4, including Harmon and Brooks, were indicted on federal charges ranging from obstruction to conspiracy. A new civilian review board was established. Serena Mitchell was appointed as its chair. With full subpoena power and oversight authority, she began dismantling the rot from the inside. But that wasn't the end. A bill was introduced in Congress, the Jaden Mitchell Justice Act. It called for independent investigations in all cases of excessive force involving minors and mandatory body cam audits in all U.S. police departments. Serena was invited to testify before the House Judiciary Committee. She stood in front of Congress like she once stood before combat briefings, focused, unswayed, unafraid. "You don't need to be rich or powerful to demand justice," she said. "You just have to be louder than the people trying to silence you." The gallery rose in applause. And somewhere in the back row, Jaden watched, a quiet smile pulling at the corners of his mouth. Weeks later, murals began popping up across the city. One of Jaden standing tall in a varsity jacket. Another of Serena, hand outstretched toward a crowd of young voices. Below it, the words, "You hurt one of us. You hear from all of us." At her first official public meeting as chair of the new oversight board, Serena looked out at the community, at mothers, fathers, students, survivors. "I'm not here because I wanted this fight," she said. "I'm here because the fight found me, and I promise you, no one else will fight it alone ever again." Back at home that night, she curled up beside Jaden on the couch, the news playing quietly in the background. "You did it, Mom," he said. She kissed the top of his head. "We did it." But she knew the work wasn't over. The system was still broken, still bruised, but now it couldn't pretend no one was watching. Now it had to answer. And if it didn't, it would hear from her, from him, from all of them. If this story moved you, if it made you feel seen or made you believe justice is still possible, don't stay silent. Share it. Speak up. And subscribe to our channel to help amplify the voices that need to be heard. Justice doesn't whisper. It roars.